Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Oh, he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome. This is Wacky Wednesday here on the Arrowhead Addict channel. I'm the blog father, Adam Best, joined as always by the golden voice of Sterling Holmes. Sterling, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Just got back from Big 12 Media Days. So I was down there at T-Mobile Center in Kansas City. Literally just got back about 20 minutes ago and hopped on this. So we were college basketball spirit this entire time. It was fun to talk with Bill Self for a while, talked with Jerome Tang, head coach of K-State for a while, talked with PJ Haggerty of K-State, 21 points per game over the past 2 seasons, and then talked with Trey White, new addition. This is his 4th team, Haggerty's 4th team. But no, Trey White came from, NIL. It's crazy. A lot of crazy stuff happening in college basketball right now and college sports in general. We had Trey White, played at Illinois last year, was a good player, helped beat Missouri last year, so gave him a hard time for that as he's now a Jayhawk. So it was a good time talking a lot of college basketball, but excited to talk some football, Chiefs football with you.
Yeah, I know basketball is back. We're both basketball guys. Are you a Sixers fan? Is that who your pro allegiance is to?
Yeah.
And I'm a Pacers guy, which is kind of unfortunate right now, but I'm not really ready for basketball yet. Like maybe at Christmas, I'm still, this is football season, baby. And it's going well. It didn't start well. It started 0-2, but, we're so back. We've never been more back. And today we're going to analyze the Chiefs' path to the 1 seed because I actually think they have a pretty good path. That's going to be the return of Hot Take Kingdom after kind of a long hiatus. So that will be fun. A couple of news quick hitters for you guys. First off, the big news, Commanders star quarterback Jayden Daniels is out for Monday Night Football. That means the unceremonious return of one Marcus Mariota to Arrowhead for the big revenge game. It's like the Doctor Strange quote. The bill always comes due. Well, Mr. Mariota, the bill is due. I think he's going to be, the blood alcohol content at Arrowhead for Monday Night Football is going to be like 0.2. And Steve Spagnuolo is going to be frothing at the mouth to get after this guy. So I can't wait. The other big news, Kristian Fulton, according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, could get traded. I wanted to pick your brain on this. Do you think this is smoke or signal?
I am shocked by this, but I shouldn't be. I don't love it. I don't love it for a multitude of reasons. I don't love it because that indicates, as we saw today, by the way, Kevin Knowles was the guy that got the tab to get called up from the practice squad on the 53-man. So they brought up a cornerback. It just wasn't Kristian Fulton in the corresponding move for Omar Norman Lott. Now, I think Knowles has been a good player, and he'll play special teams. We saw him in the preseason look good. There's a lot of things to take away, and I was excited for Knowles. And again, special teams does play a part in this. I'm perplexed because they spent good money on Kristian Fulton. And we know Kristian Fulton's a good player. It's not like it's an unknown quantity. It's not like a complete unknown. But there were some things pointed out in the preseason to me. One of my co-hosts in radio at 810 is Jason Anderson. And he was talking about along the lines of, you would see Knowles actually telling Kristian Fulton what to do and where to be in the preseason, which is not a great sign. So whether it's the injuries, whether it's the playbook being too convoluted, there's something there that the Chiefs just don't trust with Kristian Fulton. Now, Noah Williams has played at such a high level that it has not mattered. Jaylen Watson has reverted to being a legitimate CB2, almost a back-end CB1 style of player. I am, though, still confused. And the reason why I don't want to trade, personally, Kristian Fulton, I can't imagine his trade value is very high based on the contract, because it's a 2-year contract, by the way. And if he can't get on here in Kansas City, which, again, great cornerback room, point still remains. They're having practice squad guys called up above him. What is he bringing you back? And if that's the case, barring him being, which I've not heard, so this is my thoughts, barring him, well, why would you move on from a guy you might need? Injuries happen. We see it all the time. We've seen McDuffie miss time. We've seen Jaylen Watson miss time. Now, I don't hope, and we all hope and pray they don't, knock on wood, but it's the NFL. It's football. Injuries happen. You need depth. That's where the Chiefs have thrived over their dynastic run, is with their depth. So I don't love trading, if that actually is to happen, Kristian Fulton, because I don't think you're getting a lot back in return for him. And again, unless it's the Dolphins saying, hey, well, Jalen Phillips will also somehow eat contracts and make a swap. We're like, I just don't see the world. That's NBA talk. That's Madden talk. The real NFL is traditionally player for pick. So I don't know. I don't love that coming out from Jeremy Fowler personally.
Sometimes we do see player for player, though. Earlier in the preseason, we saw, or maybe offseason, we saw.
But that's offseason and preseason. I'm talking regular season. You don't see much of that once the regular season rolls around.
No, I was going to mention the Jonnu Smith, Minka Fitzpatrick. God, who's the guy? Jalen Ramsey, the guy that got dusted so badly by Jamar Chase last Thursday. But I hear your point, and I have a couple of thoughts. The first is cap room. The Chiefs are 29th in cap room at 3.75. So maybe they're just trying to create room. The other thing with the Chiefs, their strategy defensively is a little bit different than their strategy offensively. Andy Reid is very patient, likes to give everyone opportunities, doesn't like pull the plug on anybody very quickly. Steve Spagnuolo has his guys, and if you're not one of his guys and you don't fit, he can come to that conclusion very quickly. We saw this with Joshua Uche last year. And I mean, Sterling, you're the king of the sunk cost fallacy. If the Chiefs don't see this guy in their plans, he's not that far removed from being a somewhat coveted, like, I don't know, B or C tier free agent. I mean, can they get a 5th rounder for him? Something of value. And can they turn around and use that draft capital to get an edge? Even if it's not a direct trade for trade, maybe it allows them the draft capital and cap room to go get that edge or defensive tackle.
I hear that. I guess for me, I just find the cornerback depth a little alarming. Again, I think Knowles has a chance, and we've seen Williams pressed into action before, but right now you are rocking. And again, the secondary as a whole does have depth because you have Chamari, Jayden Hicks. Jayden Hicks is actually the guy getting left out a lot of times for Noah Williams. So I understand some of the you have 6 guys you really trust.
Chris Roland Wallace as well.
Chris Roland, you have 6.5, 6 to 7 guys you really trust in that secondary, which is a good number, but strictly cornerback with Kristian Roland Wallace becoming more of a safety. We all agree Chamari Connor is best as a safety. They're rolling with a 3-guy set right now at corner. And then, you have Knowles, special teamer, more than likely, at least to start. If an injury were to happen, it's no longer Fulton, then you're going to see Josh Williams thrust into action, and then you would see Najee Johnson. I'm not saying it's the worst situation to be in. I'm saying those guys have played NFL snaps. They've played many a game. It's just, who do you trust more? My personal opinion is Fulton. Again, we talked yesterday. Briscoe and I had a long conversation. I know some folks in the Discord were getting on me too, kind of enjoying my love for Calais Campbell, the 39-year-old legend who keeps playing at a very high level, by the way, who fits under the cap space. That way you could have both Fulton and Calais Campbell. Not much of a difference there. Yeah, I do find it interesting that it's being brought up, because if you would have asked me this 2 weeks ago, I'd have said, you're crazy. They just signed Fulton. No way they trade him. Yet here we are sitting here October 22nd, and I think my viewpoint and thought has changed?
I kind of mentioned it on Twitter a few weeks ago, and people were like, no way. But he's a healthy scratch, man. I mean, where is he in the plans? And by the way, I should mention that Fowler also listed Joshua Williams as a trade possibility. I don't think both of them can get traded. That would leave the Chiefs too shallow in their depth chart, but I definitely think one of them could.
Yeah,
and
I think Williams is the one that and we talked about it in cut down day. We thought there might be a team. We thought the Dolphins, actually, of all teams, were going to be looking at Williams or Najee Johnson or even Kristian Roland Wallace as a guy to look at to try and trade something for, because they were so thin, and the Chiefs did have a plethora. Again, we expected Kristian Fulton, and quite frankly, we thought, again, Knowles to an extent could fill that back end role for Williams or Najee. So, yeah, we've talked about Williams, I think, in the trade market before. Again, a guy who does have starting experience to an extent in the NFL.
The subtext here is that the Chiefs love Noah Williams. I mean, that's what this has to be. They have the utmost confidence already in their third-round rookie, and they have every reason to. So that's very exciting. Jaylen Watson is in a contract year. So given the Chiefs' track record, I would guess that he probably won't be back. I know we all love Jaylen Watson. He plays his guts out. He's a good player. We shall see. But Noah Williams is looking like the next great find in that cornerback room. We're going to get into today's segment, but before that, a little bit of business.
Yeah, and first and foremost, a couple comments I want to get to. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us on a Wednesday afternoon. Adam says, I'm a Jazz fan, so I'm dead inside. Hey, I'm with you. The Jazz are starting to turn things around. I believe in what they're doing. Not this year. It's not going to be great this year, but we know it's a building process for the Jazz. And by the way, it's awesome. You know why? The GM for the Jazz actually is from Kansas City. Little known fact there. I know Danny Ainge, I think, is the guy doing a lot of the basketball operations, but the GM itself, the GM, is from Kansas City. So it's pretty cool. Just little tidbits of your Jazz fan and why I respect and like the Jazz as well. Sean says, what is Sterling drinking? Black coffee. I needed some black coffee. It's been a long night. Had to do, obviously radio podcast yesterday, then had to do a Kansas City Mavericks coaches show, hockey here in Kansas City. So I had fun doing that, hosting that show. And then I had a Big 12 meet. So I've hit the gamut. I've hit NFL right now. We've hit college basketball media days, talking with Bill Self and Jerome Tang, and talking hockey last night. So I've been a very busy man. By the way, I'll be talking with Mitchell Schwartz on Friday, talking cooking with Mitchell Schwartz at the JoCo home show here in OP Friday and Saturday from 2 to 3. So if you're around and want to go to the JoCo home show, check it out. I'll be interviewing Mitchell Schwartz from 2 to 3, talking cooking, more than likely, with him. But I want to talk now about Underdog, something I've talked about for a while, and there's a great deal going on with Underdog. They've upped the ante, so listen in here. First and foremost, we know that football season, it's in full swing, and we also know Underdog is the best place to get in on all of the action. Super easy. All you have to do is pick whether your favorite players go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdown, and more. You get those picks right, you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. This week on Underdog, whatever Patrick Mahomes' passing numbers are going to be, give me the higher. Just give it to me. If it's anything that's like 280, which is going to be probably around that number, I haven't pulled up at this exact moment because it's Monday Night Football. Give me the higher. Just give it to me. Marcus Mariota, give me the higher in attempts. I think the attempts are what we're going to have to watch for, because they'll probably play from behind, which means they'll have to throw the football a lot, which means give me the higher in attempts for Marcus Mariota. That's what I think I like right now. Let's make an easy one. You can fade me. You can follow me. Do what you want. But that's what I am going to rock with on Underdog. So download the app today. Sign up with promo code Arrowhead Addict to score $100 in bonus funds or entries when you play with your first $5. That's promo code Arrowhead Addict. Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado, 47 games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and President State, where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/playing. Get terms _DFS_HTML for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Consider their play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncbgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Xavier Worthy fast, man. Tyquan Thornton fast. Love it. You ready to get into the segment?
I would love to.
So this week's Hot Take Kingdom is the Chiefs will win the AFC's 1 seed and once again secure a bye. Welcome to the kingdom. Missed that music. It's been a minute since we got to do the little dance and everything. For new listeners, Hot Take Kingdom is one of our oldest segments. I throw out a hot take and build a case, and then Sterling either enters the kingdom or rejects the argument. Let's get into it. You know the deal. You can interrupt me at any time for a little aside conversation or a tangent. It's very free flowing. But last week I brought up the ESPN Football Power Index. And I think they do it. I think Seth Walder does a good job over there with everything he does in their advanced stats department. They're well funded. And the Chiefs are currently number 1 at 7.9. So this is a weekly ranking based on 10,000 simulations of the rest of the season. And their offense alone scored as high as the second best team, the Lions, at 5.5. Another reason why I feel bullish here is what it exposed about the Bills and the Colts and the Broncos. The Bills and Colts have a negative defensive score of 0.4, and the Colts are at a negative 0.8. So I think that we'll get to the Colts. We need to have a prolonged Colts conversation today, because I think that's lining up to be the game of the year. But we'll put a pin in that.
Which we all knew and expected.
Hey, on this program with my father, I predicted them to win the AFC South. I'll tell you why when we have that conversation. Hey, my preseason picks are either genius or idiotic. We know the idiotic part because I once had a bet with you about Sky Moore, and that didn't go so well for me. But sometimes you get it right. And then the Broncos have a negative offensive score of negative 0.04. I mean, obviously the Broncos poured it on in that fourth quarter, but I kind of thought that was more of a mental lapse by the Giants than the Broncos being, the second coming of that Peyton Manning, Demaryius Thomas, that high octane attack that they had 10 years ago or so. The Chiefs are also, if you don't like ESPN's Football Power Index, we've got all kinds of other metrics that show their strength. They're second in offensive DVOA. They're third in offensive EPA for a play. That's expected points added. They're also first in drop back success rate at 55%, despite being the most pass-heavy team in the league. And that's according to drop back rate over expected. So they pass more than anybody, yet they're still the most successful passing attack. Success rate is basically on first down, do you get half the yardage? On second down, do you get 3/4 the yardage? And on third and fourth, do you get all of the yardage? That's a simplification, but that's basically what it is. And the Chiefs are very good at moving the sticks. I mean, they're always very good at moving the sticks. In fact, I think their rushing success rate isn't that bad. And I think that's why Brashard Smith. I'll mention Brashard Smith here because I think we saw a glimpse of him growing into the Jerick McKinnon type that perhaps the Chiefs envisioned when they drafted him. And right now he leads the league as far as running backs go in yards per route run at 3.13. That's insane efficiency. Now they're using him as a bit of a gadget player. And when he's coming in the game, he has 39 routes and 18 targets. So almost half the time he's in the game, he's getting a target, which is insane. And you could say, well, Jaylen Warren and Christian McCaffrey and Bijan Robinson, they're playing a lot more snaps. But also the Chiefs are kind of telegraphing what they're doing with Brashard Smith, and it's still not really mattering. So I think that rushing attack is only going to get better. And I think the reason why the Chiefs are going to do okay running the ball, regardless of who's back there, they've got a great offensive line. They've got a great play caller. And when you're, in an offense with Patrick Mahomes, you will see the lightest boxes in the league. That's a fact. We've seen that well documented over the years. So I just feel great about this offense because, frankly, Patrick Mahomes is on fire, and this is the best fleet of weapons he's had since the Legion of Zoom era. And I would argue that maybe there's not a player as good as Tyreek Hill or peak Travis Kelce, but I think this fleet of weapons is deeper. If you look like I'm talking about receivers, like 1 through 8. If you throw Brashard Smith into that group, they've got the 2 tight ends, they've got the 5 receivers. They are deep, deep, deep. And the Chiefs offense, because of this, is averaging 32.3 points per game over the past month, which I think an underrated aspect of that is it puts the defense in a great spot. Building leads has always allowed Spags to take star running backs out of the equation. We've seen this with Derrick Henry, Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is basically Jamal Charles reincarnated. We saw this on Monday night. He did nada against the Chiefs. Saquon Barkley, the same thing. And with Jonathan Taylor and James Cook on the upcoming docket, this is very, very important because if you can dictate game script to those teams, we'll talk more about the Colts, but we haven't seen the Colts really have to play from behind and be in a position where Daniel Jones has to go out and get buckets and put the game on his shoulders. I'm still skeptical. I like Daniel Jones. I think he's probably a top 15 quarterback or so, but I'm skeptical as to whether he can do that.
What they remind me of, that Colts team right now, reminds me a lot of the Alex Smith era Chiefs. And I'm not trying to use that as a knock. I'm not trying to use that as a disparaging term, but they do feel like a team that could win 12 plus games in the regular season. Yet when the postseason rolls around, it's the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes, whenever Joe Burrow's actually healthy, the Lamars, right? It's the Peyton Mannings that take you out, right? That's what it ends up in, the Tom Brady's that take you out. That's what they feel like to me, where remember when the Chiefs started with like 9-0 and no one really believed in them. And then of course the Chiefs lost in the playoffs early on. And the rest of the NFL was like, this is why we didn't really believe in KC. We figured you're a great regular season team, but we knew the sustainability once you were facing teams in the postseason, you're not there yet. And that's what I feel like with the Colts. I think they're a really good team. I think they're a really good regular season team. I just don't think they're a successful playoff team. And we'll find out. I could be completely wrong and they buck that trend and I look like an idiot. But I do believe in the Colts to an extent. I believe them in the regular season. I just don't know if I believe in them come postseason time. But we're not really talking that. So I'll give you my thoughts on that a little later on.
Well, you know what? We control the show sheet here. Why don't we just dive into the Colts since we're already doing it? Why don't we just take a time out and talk about the Colts? I think it's really interesting. The reason I was kind of high on the Colts coming into the season is I squinted and I said, I know quarterback is important. I know it's really important, but I like almost everything about the Colts offensively in terms of infrastructure and environment better than the Texans. They have this outstanding group of receivers in Pittman, Downs, Mitchell, and Pierce. Tyler Warren looks like the next great tight end. Jonathan Taylor is unreal, probably a top 5 running back. Shane Steichen, I think he is, at worst, a top 10 play caller. He is an extremely good play caller. He is, I think for the Eagles, he was even a better play caller than Kellen Moore was. And you can see this because the Colts are like top of the league in play action and motion, and the Texans don't do any of this stuff. And they also have a really good offensive line. So really, if you're taking the Texans over the Colts, you're just saying CJ Stroud, right? And another thing that made me skeptical about the Texans was defensive head coach. I think we're in an era where you should not have a defensive head coach. Like,
I'll say this with the Texans real quick. I also think the Texans had the better defense, and they've proven they've had the better defense. By the way, they've given up 88 points this year. They've played 6 games. I get it. They have not played 7. The next closest is the Rams. The Texans have to give up 29 points in their next game to be tied with the Rams. The Texans defense is, I don't think the best in the NFL. Broncos might still have that title, but the Texans are close. And if you watch that game on Monday night, that was one of the best defensive performances you're going to see. I mean, it was unbelievable. they were outstanding. The issue was the offense put them in bad situation after bad situation. I mean, hell, they also scored a touchdown in that game for the Texans. Will Anderson is one of the top 5 best pass rushers in all of football. Danielle Hunter's on the other side. Then obviously we know about Derek Stingley and Al Shahir as a line. I mean, I think the Texans defense is one of the best in football. The difference is their offense right now. CJ Stroud looks confused. They have probably the worst offensive line in all of football. They can't run the ball at all, and the receivers are all injured. I know it's not really an excuse, but that's just the reality of the situation for Houston. Their O-line is probably the worst in all of football.
I totally agree with all those points, but I also don't like their play caller. I didn't like their play caller last season, and it doesn't look like they fixed that. And on the head coach front, if you look at all the teams that have made the Super Bowl and won Super Bowls since Bill Belichick, Arians, McVay, Taylor, Reed, Shanahan, Sirianni, they're all offensive coaches. I just think we're in a new. I mean, he's played. He's been a play caller with the Eagles, not like constant. It's a little bit different, but I just think. And look at Sean Payton. I think you can have a top 5 defense with an offensive head coach. I don't think you can have a top 5 offense with a defensive head coach unless you have Josh Allen, which I actually think Sean McDermott has held back Josh Allen. But the thing I will say,
the Lions have a top 5 offense with Dan Campbell.
He's more of a Harbaugh. He's like a CEO, right? It's a little bit different, but that point taken, that's a good point. What I was going to say about the Colts and why I think they're dangerous is because their formula is be extremely efficient on offense, spread the ball around, keep defenses guessing. And then on defense, they have Lou Anarumo. So I think they're going to be in the playoffs. They're not going to be an easy out because that is the guy, along with Steve Spagnuolo, that you want making a tailor-made defensive game plan for a top quarterback. So I think this is a really interesting team. But I think when the Chiefs play them in a month or so, if the Chiefs can get up on the Colts and force Daniel Jones to kind of have to, like I said, put the team on his shoulders and throw a lot and not just like get these easy buckets off of play action, I think the Chiefs can get them. But what you don't want to do with the Colts is what happened with the Chargers on Sunday. You get behind this team and they will steamroll you because that offense is a machine. It's the most efficient offense we've seen. I mean, like one of the most ever. It's more efficient at this point. I don't think this will hold up, but than the 2007 Patriots and the 2018 Chiefs. That's the kind of run they're on right now. It's incredible. So I don't know if you agree with this, but if these two teams continue to roll, this is going to shape up to be maybe the regular season game of the year here in about a month.
Yeah, which we all expected. We all knew that's what it was going to be.
That's how we drew it up, man. But I just thought the Colts, we haven't really talked about them because even though I thought they might win the AFC South, nobody saw them being. I really think they're the 3rd best team in the AFC. Now, maybe Baltimore can resurrect itself and we can have the zombie Ravens, given the way the AFC North looks. But I don't know. I think it's Chiefs, Bills, Colts, and I'm not really taking anybody else seriously at this moment. I mean,
New England. I believe in New England to an extent. I think Drake May is a good quarterback. I think that their receiving core looks pretty good. Their offensive line's better. I just think Mike Vrabel's a hell of a coach. Again, to a certain extent, I'm sitting here going, they're kind of in the Colts category for me, where they're a very well-rounded team. I think they have a good head coach. I just don't know if their quarterback quite yet is that guy. And I like Drake May. I think he has the upside to potentially be that guy. But it's still pretty early on in his young career to make that assessment. It's funny. We talk all the time about like the big 4 in the AFC. Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, Bengals. And we sit back over the past 6 years-ish. Who's left? Chiefs, always there. And this year it's the Bills who are still in contention. I mean, the Ravens look like they're missing the playoffs. The Bengals are 3-4 with one of the worst point differentials in the entire NFL. Now, I get Joe Burrow being injured, but you have to take that into the equation because he's always injured. I mean, he's injured more than Lamar Jackson. He is a guy who plays almost every other year. Fair or not, that's the moniker that Joe Burrow has. I'm tired of Bengals fans saying, well, yeah, but if he was healthy, well, who cares? He's never healthy. He's healthy every other year. So at some point, you have to take that into account and just say, that is who he is. You have to take advantage of his healthy seasons because so far, he doesn't have many of them.
They're on the path to Andrew Luckingham, to David Carringham. It's not like I want a league where Joe Burrow's in it. It makes the AFC more fascinating. It makes Patrick Mahomes' story and what he has to overcome to get to the Super Bowl more dynamic. The Patriots, I'm a Jerick May believer. I will say that, but they cannot run the football. Travion Henderson, I mean, what the hell is going on with him? They're not even using him. Hey, if you guys don't want him in Boston, we will take him in Kansas City. We'll do you a friendly favor and take him off your hands. But I just don't think they're there yet. We've seen Mike Vrabel go head-to-head with Andy Reid in the playoffs. I like that chess match favoring the Chiefs. I don't believe in the Steelers. I don't believe in the Jags. I think the Chargers are fugazi. You know, I'm never a believer in the Chargers. They're too beat up. They just don't have it. I don't know. None of those teams are built to last. I think it's the Bills, the Colts, and maybe the Broncos because of their head coach and the defense. But the great thing about this path, this will be my finishing point, is that Kansas City kind of controls their own destiny, especially if you don't believe in those teams we talked about. They play the Broncos twice, they play the Bills once, and they play the Colts once. Now, 3 of those 4 games are on the road, so that is something to watch out for. But, man, the way the Chiefs are playing right now, they just look like, I mean, almost easily the best team in the league. If it depends on how seriously you take the Colts, but they waxed the Lions. They basically ended the Ravens season probably. And they look, 3 80+ yard drives in a row to open that game Sunday. Such a well-oiled machine. And they've been here before. They know how to close out seasons. They know how to secure that 1 seed. They know how to do this marathon. So I'm taking the Chiefs. Sterling, you've heard my case. Are you coming into the castle or staying outside its walls?
Before I give you my thoughts, we're going to keep you on the edge of your seat.
Cliffhanger.
Uh-huh. And the next time you get up from that seat, go to Target. Go pick up some House of Atlas. All right? House of Atlas, phenomenal. If you were looking for a gift for someone, no brainer. House of Atlas. It's perfect for your brother, your roommate, or even yourself. If someone asks what you want and you don't feel like thinking, it's a grooming kit that is absolutely phenomenal. It makes it simple to clean up, and they actually look good on the counter as well. The razor's weighted handle and precision trim edge make it effortless to get a smooth, clean shave every single time. Best part, you can grab them at Target stores nationwide or online at target.com. So I really do like House of Atlas. I was at where I golf a lot, where I work out. They have a locker room and all this, and they would leave out these disposable razors. They're cheap, but I was like, all right, I'll use them. They're here. They're free. I'll try it out. And I would use them. And I kept cutting myself just once or twice a shave. Now, I get it. I'm not the Patrick Mahomes of shaving. I'm not Josh Allen. I'm not Tom Brady. But, like, I'm Drake May. Okay? Like, I got some talent in me. I'm not, I don't know. I'm not Dylan Gabriel. Okay? I'm not out there like, I'm not
Dylan Gabriel of shaving, man. You would be in like urgent care.
Yeah, I'm not that. I'm not the Geno Smith of shaving, okay? I got more talent than that. So even with the pretty good talent I possessed, those disposable ones just did not really work for me. And lo and behold, I got this House of Atlas shipped to me before I even knew we were doing this read. And I get it, and I tried it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not cutting myself. And oh, by the way, the shave cream is outstanding. And the aftershave, I was using the one that's just there, which is fine. I'm not trying to take a shot at other shaving companies. But the aftershave, just 1, it burnt like bleep. And 2, I felt like I smelled like a 90-year-old man. I didn't like that. With House of Atlas, their aftershave made me smell and feel good. It's almost like cologne that you just slapped in your face and it didn't burn as bad. It was great. So if you want to have a great weighted handle razor that feels solid in your hand and not flimsy, if you want to have great shave cream and aftershave to elevate your routine, go to House of Atlas. And again, you can get it at Target stores nationwide and online at target.com. So don't stress. Get yourself House of Atlas. Upgrade you deserve. And quite frankly, all the people in your life deserve. So go there and pick it up at Target stores nationwide or online at target.com.
Sterling, I'm just picturing you, slapping that old school aftershave on your face and doing the Macaulay Culkin and Home Alone where you're just like, because it's burning, and it's just kind of funny. But I'm with you, man. I'm not a big shaver, but like growing up, my dad used to always use those like blue, no frills disposable razors, and I'm like, man, how do you if I'm going to shave my face, I want like state of the art, take it easy on the skin, right?
Yeah. So my thoughts, I think the Chiefs more than likely get the 2 seed. Sorry, I don't want to be a buzzkill. I know I made you guys wait for a while just to say that. I think the reason why I say 2 seed, I don't really believe that it's the Bills, by the way, which might be the more confusing part to some folk. I think the Bills still have a chance. Their schedule is easier than Kansas City's. But when I look at the top 4 teams in the AFC right now, and again, I'm sorry, I'm not counting Steelers. I just don't believe in Rodgers and the sustainability of that squad. Also, have you seen their alternative jerseys they're rocking? They're not winning bleep in those things. Those things are ugly as hell. Look at Bumblebee from like Transformers. That's what they look like out there. It's horrible. Colts probably have the best chance, but then I feel like the Colts are going to be like the Titans when they had Mike Vrabel, of all things, and they collapsed in the playoffs. That's a little bit what they feel like. They feel like, okay, all right, yeah, look at the Titans. They're the 1 seed. But no one thinks that they're the best team. I think the Chiefs are the best team, and I think they'll be the best team heading into the playoffs. But the Colts do have a 2-game lead on KC with a fairly easy schedule. I think it's easier than Kansas City's. I think the team to watch out for, as far as if you want a hot take, I think the Patriots have a chance. I don't think the Patriots are the 1 seed. I don't think they're as good as the Colts, the Chiefs, the Bills. I think they're the 4th best team of these teams we're talking about by a decent margin. But they also have a schedule that lines up fairly favorably for them. Now, part of it comes back to when's Joe Burrow coming back for some of these matchups that we're going to see. If it's the, Joe Flacco-led Bengals, or is it going to be the Joe Burrow-led Bengals? There's a difference there, right? I just think that the Patriots have a fairly easier battle. I mean, you look at the Miami Dolphins, that's 2 wins for all these teams in that division. The Bills, for the Patriots, it's just easy. I mean, they look like the worst team in football. They're setting football back 50 years. Them, the Jets, and the Raiders. Right now, the Raiders, and quite frankly, I would also throw in the Texans offense. I just think that the Chiefs put themselves in a hole early on, but it doesn't mean I don't think they're the best team in football. I just want to be realistic. And even if the Chiefs are the 2 seed, the 3 seed, who cares? We've seen them go on the road and wax folk. It is what it is. At this point, I trust the Chiefs to win on the road in the playoffs. And again, I think the Chiefs' schedule doesn't behoove them to get the 1 seed. There's probably a game or 2 they fall and lose 2 games. They're probably not getting the 1 seed. So they would have to go, what's that? 8-2. They go 8-2. They might have a chance of the 1 seed. They go
8 or 2 or 9 or 1, probably.
If they go 7-3, I think for sure they're not getting the 1 seed. So they have to at least go 8-2.
Theoretically, they could go 10-0. We've seen them go on runs like that before. It's not out of the question. I'm not saying they're going to, but they could. And I like the way this is shaping up. Now they get the Commanders with a backup quarterback, and I don't know what the state of their receiving core is, but Terry McLaurin hasn't been playing. Deebo Samuel missed last week. So we're catching the Commanders at the right time. Then we get the Bills, who have dropped 2 in a row. They're coming off a bye. Maybe they clean up this defense, but their defense looks pretty bad, dude. And then you get a bye before going to Denver. And I really like that setup because they get the Bills at a good time. Then they get a week off. Then they go to Denver. But I hear you. Historically, Buffalo and Denver have been the 2 places on the road where I basically predict the Chiefs to lose. I almost never, no matter who they play or where they play, I almost always pick the Chiefs. But they do kind of struggle in the regular season versus Buffalo and at Denver. So, but I don't know. The Chiefs, I think losing those first 2 games backed the Chiefs into a corner. I don't know if I've seen them backed into a corner like this ever. And they are playing like a desperate football team, and they are not playing with their food right now. They're not playing down to the level of their competition. They're not messing around. Andy Reid is still a merciful head coach. He's not the kind, like, he could have put 50 or 60 on the Raiders. You know, you think back to that Miami game where they put 70 on the Broncos. Like, how did they get this bad this fast, by the way? But Andy Reid is just never going to do that. But they are taking care of business. So I think if they get leads, you know, like last year with the Panthers, I don't think this team is going to mess around with a team like the Carolina Panthers. Like, looking at the schedule, they play the Titans. They're going to blow the Titans out. That's just, this team is kind of like standing on business.
Yeah. They are winning big and losing close. The opposite of pretty much any Andy Reid-led team in the past. Again, I've seen a lot of folks talking about the Chiefs' defensive line. 100% with you guys. I'd have to imagine that this week's going to be Marlon Tupelo, the guy that's going to get the nod. We talked yesterday, if you want to get into a little more detail of yesterday's show, Briscoe and I took a little deep dive into it. You know, if I had my druthers, I'm talking Calais Campbell, 39-year-old, who's still playing at an extremely high level. I mean, he's played at a high level a decade ago, we thought he was going to fall off, and yet Calais Campbell is still doing Calais Campbell things. The Chiefs have $4.1 million in cap space to work with. So if you're expecting a big name, I would say don't. If we're being realistic, which I try to be, I mean, yeah, I love Quinnen Williams. I love Dexter Lawrence. Ain't happening. We're talking Calais Campbell. We're talking Shelby Harris, right, of the Browns. We're talking Mike Pennell potentially. Like, I mean, you heard, was it Chris Jones talk about that in his presser last week? I mean, I just think we have to have realistic expectations. 4.1 million, according to Spot Track, is what the Chiefs have in cap space. So keep that in mind when you're looking at dudes to bring in. It's why I've found Calais Campbell might be the best choice for KC. And by the way, you could bring in both. You can bring in Shelby Harris and Calais Campbell, which then you have your run stuffer and Shelby Harris, who, again, we'll find out the Chiefs clearly love Derek Nottie, clearly. And pass rush situations, Calais Campbell, who, by the way, though, Calais Campbell is actually graded out better in run defense than I think anyone would expect. And by the way, he can play inside and outside. Still probably more inside at this point in his career, but something to at least monitor and keep track of.
And he's a Spagsy kind of guy. Like, Spags isn't going to bench Calais Campbell in his old man strength. So, but I think there's probably something they can do with the cap, especially if they move on from Kristian Fulton. So I don't know. I'd love to see Jalen Phillips. Personally, I think his upside is pretty immense. I know he's another guy that's always banged up, so you have to take that into consideration. But I think there's a need both on the edge and on the interior. Derek Nottie, like Calais Campbell could be 49 and still be playing better than Derek Nottie is right now. I hate to be mean about Derek Nottie, but he looks like he looks like the worst starter in the National Football League right now.
I see this from Cody real quick, just talking about Christian Wilkins. I don't want to dive too deep because we don't know all of the off the field / locker room stuff. That one's a little more convoluted than I think the majority of people believe. The reason why it's so convoluted is it sounds like he's trying to get the rest of his money from the Raiders while the Raiders wanted to void his contract. Because the Raiders didn't like how he handled not just the locker room stuff, but with the foot, with the injury, his rehab. And that was how they were trying to get out of that contract. So we're looking at multiple facets when it comes to Kristian Wilkins. I do think that if he were completely healthy, then you'd see more teams asking about him. If it was a minor thing, we would see a lot of teams asking about Kristian Wilkins. I think you'd see some sort, even his agent would be posting stuff like, he's ready to go. Teams looking at him, having him in for a visit. We've heard nothing on that front. And the fact is, Spags is close with Antonio Pierce. So at least there's something there. You can take a look at hey, what actually happened? Was that a locker room with the Raiders being the Raiders, or was that a Kristian Wilkins situation? So, the fact it's been so quiet has me a little bit on the side of, I just don't think that's a possibility. But again, I think they should at least ask about it. And again, with the relationship that Antonio Pierce has with KC, I think you should be at least intrigued, or at least enter conversation about what's going on there.
I'm just laughing because he was the latest Raiders coach to show up at Chiefs training camp in Chiefs garb. We saw John Gruden show up in like a Chiefs hat and a Chiefs polo. It is a fun tradition seeing former Raiders coaches don the red and yellow.
Back to back, right? We saw Gruden and Pierce.
Kristian Wilkins, really quickly. It sounds like maybe he could be ready for the end of the season, but there's not a lot of information out there. And if we're taking the Chiefs locker room culture versus the Raiders locker room culture, there's a huge disparity between those two things. You heard even Ashton Genty kind of come to the realization that we have a losing culture here. We have to change that. The culture, the vibes are bad, dude. The vibes are bad. So I think Kristian Wilkins, like you, I don't want to speculate what's going on with him personally and why he didn't fit there in Vegas. But I think guys tend to have an easier time fitting in Kansas City than with a lot of these organizations that don't really have their shit together, frankly.
Yeah, agreed.
That's all we've got for you guys. Thanks to the chat. You always bring it and help make Wednesday fun. Yeah, we're glad to be back here on Wacky Wednesday. If you dig Arrowhead Addict, here's how you can help our community grow. Subscribe here on YouTube so you never miss a show. If you're an audio listener on Spotify or Apple, one of the biggest things you can do to help us is go there and very quickly leave a 5-star review. And if you do that on Apple, you can leave a question and we will answer it on our Thursday program, the OG Hour with Patrick Allen. Lastly, the mothership, arrowheadaddict.com, where it all started. Matt Connor will have you with the gang over there will keep you posted up to the minute. Join us live next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central right here on the Arrowhead Addict channel. Until then, go Chiefs.